You know, there are some places on Earth where the past isn't just a memory. It's right there, a living, breathing presence, where you can see ancient pyramids casting their long shadows over gleaming modern skyscrapers. This is our journey into the very heart of Mexico, a nation that was literally forged in the fire of empires, revolutions, and a constant, relentless quest for its own identity.
It's a story that starts thousands and thousands of years ago in a land that we now know was one of only 6 places on the entire planet where civilization sparked all on its own.
But it's also a modern powerhouse, a nation of sprawling megacities whose economic and cultural influence can be felt all across the globe.
And that right there is the paradox of Mexico. It's a place where the deep, ancient past isn't just history in a book. It's a living force that's always shaping its vibrant and, often turbulent present.
For a lot of people, the word Mexico brings up one simple image. Sun-drenched beaches and crystal-clear blue water. But that picture, as beautiful as it is, really only scratches the surface of a story that is so much more complex, and honestly, so much more profound.
So what is Mexico really? Is it just its tourist resorts? Or is it the echo of its incredible fallen empires? Well, the truth is, it's both. And to really understand the nation as it is today, we have to go back, way back, to a world that existed long before the first European ships ever saw its shores.
We're starting our journey in a time when this land had other names, a time of gods, of powerful kings, and of massive cities that seemed to rise right out of the jungle and the high plateaus.
This whole region, what we call Mesoamerica, was a true cradle of civilization. It was right up there with ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. This is where humanity first figured out how to cultivate maize, the crop that would go on to build empires. It's where they developed these incredibly sophisticated traditions in math, art, and even complex writing systems.
This timeline really gives you a sense of the sheer scale of that history. It all kicks off over 3,000 years ago with the mysterious Olmecs. As the centuries roll by, you see these amazing civilizations, like the Maya and the Zapotec, rise and fall. Then come the mighty Toltecs, and their influence eventually gives way to the last great power of ancient Mesoamerica, the Aztecs, who ruled a massive empire from their stunning capital city, Tenochtitlan.
Now, to really get what this number means, you need some perspective. This was the population of a single city, Teotihuacan. At a time when a lot of Europe was still in the Dark Ages, this place was one of the biggest, most advanced cities on the entire planet.
But that whole ancient world, it was destined to be shattered. The arrival of outsiders set off a chain reaction, a cataclysm whose echoes would thunder through the next 500 years, a time defined by conquest, revolution, and this relentless, often violent struggle to build a new identity from the pieces.
That's how people describe the Mexican Revolution of 1910, a great, sweeping wind of change. But believe me, it wasn't the first storm to hit, and it wouldn't be the last to shape this nation.
The story of modern Mexico was really hammered into shape by 3 huge events. First, the Spanish conquest, which kicked off 300 years of colonial rule. Then, in 1810, you have the Cry of Dolores, a priest's call to arms that lit the fuse for the War of Independence. And finally, a century after that, the Mexican Revolution, a bloody, decade-long civil war that got rid of a dictator and laid the foundation for the country we see today. And out of the ashes of that revolution came one of the most fascinating political machines of the 20th century, the PRI. Now, it wasn't a military junta or a communist state, but for 71 straight years, this one party held all the power. It created a system so stable, yet so controlling, that the famous writer Mario Vargas Llosa called it the perfect dictatorship. So, this long history, these deep roots, and these violent changes has created a nation of incredible contrasts. It's a place where you'll find mind-boggling wealth right next to stubborn hardship, and just breathtaking natural beauty facing off against some really tough environmental challenges. And this duality, it's just woven into everything. For instance, Mexico is immense. It's the 13th largest country on the planet, but so much of that land is too dry or too mountainous to actually form. It's also a mega-diverse nation, one of the most biologically rich places you can find, and yet it's also suffering from a devastating rate of deforestation. It has one of the world's biggest economies, but it's also got the second highest level of economic inequality among all developed nations. It's a constant push and pull. You see this contrast in its global image too. In 2022, more than 42 million people flew in to visit Mexico. That made it the sixth most popular tourist spot in the entire world.
But behind that sunny, welcoming picture is a much tougher reality. In that same year, this was the number of its own citizens, 47 million people, who were living in poverty.
And when it comes to faith, you see another story of deep tradition meeting gradual change. Catholicism, which is a direct legacy of the Spanish conquest, is still dominant. More than 3/4 of the population. And yet, you have this growing number of people embracing Protestant faiths, or even identifying with no religion at all. It just shows you this is a society that's always evolving.
So where does all this complex history leave Mexico today? Well, it's become a nation that stands confidently on the world stage. But at the same time, it's still wrestling with some really powerful and destabilizing forces right at home.
And make no mistake, modern Mexico is an absolute powerhouse. It's a member of the G20, helping to shape the global economy. Its cultural influence is just undeniable. It's in everything from movies and food to art and music. It's the beating heart of the Spanish-speaking world, a real hub of creative and intellectual energy.
But all of that incredible progress is shadowed by some really tough, persistent struggles. Systemic corruption, high crime rates, and a brutal, ongoing war with powerful drug cartels, these remain the country's biggest challenges, and they affect the lives of millions of people.
Which really brings us to the big question, right? After thousands of years of empires, centuries of colonialism, and 100 years of revolution and reinvention, what comes next? What's going to be the defining story for Mexico in the 21st century?
Maybe the best answer comes from the philosopher José Vasconcelos. He saw Mexico not as some fixed final thing, but as a cosmic race, a dynamic fusion of all the world's people and cultures. A story that's not about arriving at a destination, but about the journey of becoming. A nation, ancient and modern, forever in motion.